Hello, everyone. Today I am looking at a deadly premonition. Yeah, wow. The memories of playing this game are really, really surreal. It's funny. I mean, the whole series is a very strange thing. They had, I think it originally came out on 360, and then the director's cut, which I've played, came out on PS3 a couple years later. And then they had an exclusive sequel on Switch, Deadly Premonition 2, which is just bizarre. Actually, I'm not sure if is it an exclusive? I think it is an exclusive on Switch. Yeah, this game, my experience with it is that a lot of people said, oh, this is an amazing game. Like, you know, the gameplay is not the best, but it has an insane story and characterization. And it's honestly something worth playing. Like, it's actually good. And so I remember I picked it up, you know, popped in the disc and played it for about 10 minutes. And I felt completely ripped off. Like, the gameplay in this game is abysmal. It is terrible. It is beyond. It is the most broken gameplay I've probably ever tolerated in the 7th gen. It is ridiculously terrible. And I played it for 10 minutes and I put it down and I said, you know what? I can't believe I got ripped off. This is awful. This is terrible. You know, whatever. And I came back to play it and I said, okay, I'll just go until like the first, like, at least major cutscene plays, because the intro has this guy essentially driving down the highway talking about his love of movies, and I think specifically Tremors. And then you go into this grove and your car pulls off on the side, kind of like Silent Hill or something. And what happens is you basically find these zombies and they start attacking you, and the zombies are like, please, I don't want to die. And they'd have these ridiculous voice lines that just don't make any sense at all. And so basically when you shoot them, they turn into sludge. But the shooting, like when you pulled out your gun to when you actually shot them, the frame rate dipped. Like, this game was like chugging along. It was really, really trying. And so I was just not having a good time, you could say. But then I finally got to the first cutscene, and the real major cutscene, and it had this whole thing where like everything was imaginary, and he met up with his other police detectives. And then what was so fascinating is after that whole horrifying, you know, gunplay, I thought this whole game was just going to be gunplay from here on in of this horrible style. But instead, what happened was, like the whole world changed and went away, and then suddenly, you know, the world returned to normal, kind of like Silent Hill, and he acted like nothing had happened. And his dialogue between the other characters is hilarious, because he has this alter ego called Zach, and so he'll put his fingers to the side of his head, and he'll talk to Zach about, oh, Zach, you know, I think something's, you know, awry. We have to investigate this, you know, case after we, you know, get our latest, you know, Blu-ray DVD of like Tremors 4 or something. And the thing is that the other characters comment on him, why are you talking to yourself? So it's you suddenly are thrown into this weird world. And again, the gameplay is not good, but the gameplay is serviceable to tell one of the craziest, weirdest stories I've ever experienced in gaming. And again, the setup is that you are an FBI agent. You've been called to this small town, and you essentially need to investigate the murder of this woman who has been essentially nailed to this tree and cut open. And so this very gruesome murder that, you know, and it's a small town, so everyone knew her. And so your job is essentially to investigate, and the guy that they sent is absolutely pretty much insane, and but he has a lot of charisma. And so you meet up with a couple police officers, one kind of like hard-ass cowboy kind of guy, and one kind of like nice lady police officer. And so together you kind of track down, you know, the criminals and the case and everything. Again, this game, for being so broken, is extremely ambitious. You know, it has like this open world thing, like a full open world where you can drive around. And again, there's like nothing to interact with mostly in this world, you know, besides the main areas. You might find weird like pickups, like a can of pickles, or there's these weird medals lying around that are agent honor points that, as far as I know, do absolutely nothing. Like, of course, you have your health meter and whatever, but you also have, like, bizarrely, you have a stink meter or a stink status in this game, where if you don't ever use the shower or shave, you will essentially have these flies come around you, and certain NPCs will comment on it. Like, this is some like Kojima tier, like, in-depth, like, game stuff that is just very weird, very crazy. Like, oh yeah, I would not expect that to be in the game. And so while you're investigating, you know, this case, essentially, you also have these, like they said, these monsters come out at night, and you kind of have to fight them and deal with them, and you kind of have an array of weapons, from your handgun to shotgun and other kinds of weapons that you get throughout the game. And so you have kind of a set amount of time to complete, you know, each objective, and it's kind of similar to, I guess, Majora's Mask or something like that. And so, but at night, however, the enemies and the zombies will come out, and they will attack you. So it's this really weird thing where you have the daytime, which is the normal case of, you know, just trying to find out who is the killer. And then at nighttime, you have this supernatural thing and events that go on, and everything, of course, is on a clock. And you, as Agent York, and talking to Zack, you know, it's a bit odd at first how he essentially completely kind of disconnected from reality, but you realize that there's a spiritual aspect to this game where you don't know exactly what's real and what's fake. And yeah, again, like, there is an open world, but the driving is absolute garbage. There's combat, but it's absolute garbage. And again, none of that matters, because the characters and the dialogue make up for all of that. And it's such a strangely, belovedly bizarre game that you will fall in love with it. And I think if it wasn't mentioned before, this game is very much based off Twin Peaks. So instead of a log lady, they have a pot lady who walks around with a pot in her hands, and she goes around the neighborhood, you know, yelling at people and, you know, being weird and suspicious. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a Japanese developer who made a game based off a David Lynch show. So it's going to get weird. That being said, though, the story is really, really good. It's actually really suspenseful, and the twists and turns it takes, like a TV show, are really, really cool. And again, it does not shy away from the supernatural, making it really engaging. And so the main thing that kind of develops is that essentially each one of these victims, as there are more victims, and within them are found these red seeds, and inside the victim's mouth. And these red seeds come from a specific kind of tree or plant. And so it's been suspected that the same kind of plant that is being put in these victims' bodies as a calling card is also being used to develop this new narcotic, and there's a drug trade developing around it. So there's a legitimately interesting, intriguing story here. And again, it's super fascinating how, again, you're just waiting to see what Agent York does. Like, this guy is so unpredictable and kooky and insane, and he's always very calm. He's never super, you know, yelling or shouting or animated, but he's very passionate about movies. And so as you're driving around the environment, he'll just start talking about his favorite like Spielberg movie, or this movie, and like really distinct details of like the production and something you expect from a YouTube video. And so you learn a lot about movies, I guess, by playing this game. But yeah, just being around Agent York and his antics is just really interesting. There are also other things, other weird mechanics in the game. I forgot, like the hunger meter. You have like all of your health items are things like donuts, lollipops, the famous jar of pickles, I believe. I think there's one place where it keeps respawning, and so people, that's how it became known to me, is that the pickle jar would just spawn in this one area, and it would be very plentiful. And again, throughout the game, you basically have to go to certain NPCs, talk with them, find out things about what they know about the about the case. There are certain instances where you can do side missions, and certain characters that will end up dying, and if they die before you complete your side mission, that's basically locked and gone for good. And so you have to be able to kind of know what's really going on ahead of time. And again, they're just very funny little instances. Like you go to like the local grocery shop guy, and he'll like tell you this legend about this chupacabra or something, and like the lighting will get really intense, and then you'll unlock a side mission to go find it and kill it or something. Again, there's a lot of cutscenes. It's very much a story-driven game, and it's just very funny to see what kind of really novel, broken mechanics are baked into this game that that are just like ridiculous. One of my favorite phrases by Agent York, what happens very early in the game, is that he's filling his coffee, and the cream, he says, "Zach, did you see that? FK in the coffee." And and he's like, "The coffee has never lied to me before." I should mention as well, there are some really beautiful pieces of music in this game, which I think does help boost the atmosphere, especially when Agent York is just talking absolute gibberish nonsense to the people of the town. He kind of, I guess, has a little bit of a Sherlock vibe to him, where he'll just be rambling on about like ancient China or something, and then it'll somehow relate back to the task at hand. So he's one of these savant, autistic, weird guys that it's just a really fun ride to go along with. Again, the story in this game is really, really amazing. And again, like I was saying, the music. There's one specific part in this game which is really interesting, where it really threw me out of left field. Where you actually play as what you think the villain is, and you play as the villain essentially for this small point, and it's called the Raincoat Killer. And of course, he appears in other sections where he chases you, but in this section, you actually play as him, and you go around massacring the NPCs of the town while it plays like Ave Maria. I will never forget that part of the game. It is absolutely ridiculously bonkers. And again, there's just so many things to like explore and discover in this game, and they're all just empty, and there's nothing there except maybe like a weird pickup or a novelty item. I don't know. This game in a way reminds me a little bit of Earthbound, and just that it's just very bizarre, but it definitely has a more mature setting to it, in the sense that it deals with very mature subject matter. Anyway, I could just ramble on about the weird little, like, oh, did you know you could do this, or like investigate this, or there's this weird mission, but I think I'll kind of leave it there. Deadly Premonition is one of the strangest, most charming games I've ever played. And again, it's all because of the main character and the fact that he does not care that he sounds like a anime protagonist who's like talking aloud to himself. This is a one in a lifetime experiences, and Deadly Premonition is a broken, beautiful mess, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.